Hey guys, welcome to episode 12 of A Cup of Positivity. We're doing things a bit differently this week because I'd like to introduce you to my very first solo episode. The idea behind this episode was that I get the opportunity to share part of my journey with you and let you know how I'm getting on. I answer some of the questions that I've been receiving on my social media, but most importantly, I'm accountable for myself and my podcast. I'm hoping that these episodes will give you an opportunity to see a small part of behind the scenes of the podcast, document my learnings, and most importantly, make me accountable to my audience. Perhaps in the future, I might even be able to inspire other podcasters and content creators by showing how far I've come and how much I've learned. So without further ado, here's my episode, and as always, I really hope you enjoy it. Please do comment, like, and share if so, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye! Hey guys, hello, hola, how are you? I always struggle with the intro and saying hello and everything because it always feels kind of unnatural, but what can you do? Hello, I'm kind of new to talking to camera by myself, so get used to it. So welcome to episode 12 of A Cup of Positivity. We interrupt the normal scheduling to bring you my very first solo episode. I wanted to do this from episode 10. I kind of had it in my mind since then, but long story short, I fudged up with my planning and a few other bits, so it's ended up happening at episode 12. So really, I want this to be the first of many solo episodes. Really, it's triggered by the fact that a few people have messaged me online, just saying, asking me questions about how's it going, asking me some tech questions, and it kind of made me think that I should probably do some solo episodes because I know that some of my audience actually want to get to know me and also want to see my journey and how I'm progressing. So I decided that maybe every 4 or 5 weeks I'm going to be doing a solo episode, and I'm going to be catching you up on how I'm getting on, what have been my highlights, what have been my struggles, etc, etc. So really, my inspiration is going to be based on questions that I've already been asked or that I've been DM'd, which could be anything from technical questions to how's it all going, what editing software are you using, various things, and we'll go from there. Actually, before I get on, sorry, I didn't even mention, I am still going to be doing the same format. So I have my cup of tea. I am drinking pucker after dinner tea, which is fitting for me at the moment because, as you can see, for me right now it's nighttime, my equivalent of an after 8, but in tea format. I don't actually know what the ingredients are, but hang on. It's kind of licoricey. So yeah, I will be drinking this as we go along. So basically, I'm going to give myself, I have decided to give myself some kind of structure. So how I'm going to play it is I have given myself 5 key questions. So I'm kind of interviewing myself this week, and the key questions are going to be broken down into separate points. So let's get cracking. Okay, so question 1 is, I don't know if that worked. Let's try again. Question 1. Oh my god, my finger's so lanky. Let's start on a positive note, which is what have been my highlights and my achievements so far. So I would say one of my highlights or achievements is my launch. Episode 1 was with Emma Dika. I would say that's probably my first achievement, is that I met my launch date, and it wasn't actually going to be the case. I was very nervous. I'd never interviewed anyone before. It was obviously a new project that had happened. I had announced it on Instagram, I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks before the launch date. So there was a lot of anticipation for me. And a week before the launch date, I actually became unwell, or maybe it was the week before that, or 2 weeks before the launch date. I came unwell, so I lost like a week, and that week was probably quite crucial in the fact that, apart from Emma's, I did Emma's episode recording quite early, but I didn't get to fill up my content with other episodes. So when I launched episode 1, I had no other content. And the stuff that I was reading was make sure that you have at least like 4 or 5 episodes to work with. You might want to release more than one episode in one go, various things, but I only had Emma's episode. So once I started to feel better and I was a week away from launching, I was a bit like, maybe I should just postpone my launch date. I haven't been well, people will understand, la-di-da-di-da, all these like blah 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 going on in my head. But actually, in the end, I spoke to a few people that are really close to me, my mentor, my brothers, a few other friends, and they were just like, no, you've set a launch date, do what you can and just go with it, because at the end of the day, you've made that commitment, so just do what you said you were going to do. So I met my launch date. It was my birthday, 2020, 17th of June, and Emma Dika's episode is still the episode with the highest views. It just felt freaking awesome to release the episode and have all that positive feedback. To be able to work with Emma on my first episode was also cool because she's a friend of mine, and the episode recording went really well. My second achievement would be episode 2, which was with Dr. Yvette Ankara. And the reason I've like ticked it off in my head as an achievement is because I'd actually never met Yvette. She was recommended to me from someone, actually it was my mentor recommended her to me as someone who'd be suitable for the podcast. All I did was I emailed her, got her details, and then I had like a podcast interview over the phone, and I just thought she's perfect for the podcast. I really like her energy, and I'm going to go with it. But at the time of recording, I was really nervous because, again, I have no experience with interviewing people. And with Emma, it was different because Emma's a friend of mine, so I was already comfortable with her. I knew I could pretty much just be myself. But then episode 2, I've actually had feedback that you can see the difference in my energy from episode 1 and 2. And I think it was because I was so nervous that I wanted to just come across professional, especially with Yvette, because she's the kind of woman she's successful and she's intelligent and she just kind of commands respect. So I was a bit like, oh my God, like, don't make a fool of yourself. Don't say anything stupid. Don't embarrass yourself. Yeah, I'm kind of proud of myself that I also got that episode done, and she had some really good feedback. She really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. But like I said, the reason I'm ticking it off as an achievement is because it was my first ever interview with someone that was completely new to me, a stranger basically. Okay, next 2 episodes that are my highlights are episode 3 and 5. And episode 3 was with Tyler Lowe, and episode 5 was with Jack English. Both of those episodes were male guests. And the reason they're highlights is because I'm fully aware that my target audience is women. I want to inspire women. I want to guide women. I want my podcast episodes to be catered for women and somehow help them with whatever area of their life they might be, needing some guidance with, or just to entertain them. And even though that's the case, I still don't want to isolate the guys. Like, I know that men have stuff to say and they can also be inspirational, and I didn't think that I should limit myself to having female guests just because my target audience are female. And I couldn't have picked 2 better guys, I think, because Tyler's just like super smiley, super fun. He brought like a really nice energy to the episode and also really helpful. He's a good friend of mine, and I say he's a good friend of mine, but really I'm one of his clients, and he's helped me with a lot of issues that I've had, like muscular issues. So I was just like, Tyler's definitely going to have stuff to say. He's definitely going to bring a bit of light. And if anything, he's a bit of eye candy for my female audience. So yeah, that ticks that box. I hope he doesn't listen to this episode. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then Jack is almost like, I wouldn't say the complete opposite to Tyler, but in the sense that Jack is so calm, he's so disciplined. He's just the kind of guy that he is another one that just commands respect because of the fact that he's just regimented in everything he does. And I think it takes a certain kind of person to have the discipline that he has, and I highly respect that about him. But yeah, his personality and his character is completely different to Tyler, so he brought something else to the table, and he made me feel like I just want to do better. And that's exactly what my audience, I think, are looking for, is people that they can find inspiration from. So I'm really proud of the fact that I have included the guys. I still want to include the guys, and those are just two of my highlight episodes. I really enjoyed doing them, and thank you guys if you are watching this or listening to this. I truly appreciate you guys for coming on to the podcast. Next, my highlight would be episode 4 with Anastasia Girali. So Anastasia is an embodiment mentor. The reason this episode is one of my highlights is because Anastasia is just so full of energy. She is all about law of attraction. What you put out, you get back. And so what she puts out is just pure energy, positivity, finding, flipping a negative situation into a positive. And there's something about her that just gives you life when you talk to her. And I remember, this hasn't happened to me with any other of my guests, is I got off the phone or got off Zoom with her and I was so energized and excited. Like, even if you go back to my story highlights on Instagram, you can see that I'm just like, oh my god, I just had a Zoom with Anastasia and I'm like buzzing and like you can see the energy, and I just loved it. I love the fact that I got to do a guided meditation with her, and also my listeners or my viewers can also do the guided meditation alongside. It was just something different. It was something additional that episode had to offer, and I really enjoyed filming it. Lastly, episode highlight is episode 8 with Penny Jarrett. Penny is one of my favorite people on Instagram. I've been following her for years. Again, you can see that I'm all about energy. I love Penny's energy because she's very London. Like, I relate to her a lot in that sense, that she's just chilled out. She's actually had quite a tough upbringing and she's very honest about it, and I respect her for that. But also, she doesn't need sympathy from anyone. She's just like, look, this is what's happened to me. This is my trauma. This is what I'm suffering with now. She's been diagnosed with ADHD and this is how I'm coping with it. Like, whatever, this is my life and all I can do is my best with the cards that I've been dealt. And I just love that about her. Like, she's always making jokes, she's always being silly, and she's always doing stuff that for me isn't necessarily the norm. So like just taking a break from your day-to-day stuff to go and paint, to do something creative, or to write. She creates these affirmation jars with basically loads of little affirmations inside. Just super, super creative, and I love that about her. Also, the fact that we spoke about mental health was a big thing for me, because mental health is an important topic for me. It's something that I want to talk about again. Just being comfortable talking about mental health, I think, is the main thing. Essentially, I would love the opportunity to work with Penny again. I talk to her regularly now on Instagram, and we've discussed doing other things. So she will be back on the podcast. So if you did enjoy her episode, then awesome, because she'll be back. And lastly, this isn't related to any of the content. This is more related to my own personal achievements. So one of my biggest achievements, and even though I have a long way to go, is the fact that I'm editing. I've never audio edited in my life. I've dabbled in video editing, and when I say dabbled, I did a few vlogs a few years ago, and I edited them myself, but that's about it. I feel like I have a lot of ideas when it comes to video editing, but when it comes to actually putting those ideas into practice, it takes me hours because it's not my forte. I'm really lucky that My brother is actually a voice actor, which means he records audiobooks. So obviously he is a pro at audio editing. So I've had a lot of support from him. He's even made me a video tutorial about what to do, how to do it. And I've kind of just been step by step following that, but I'm just learning as I go. So I'm proud of the fact that I'm doing that. Okay, so question 2. Bunny ears. What have been your biggest setbacks or failures? I don't really like using the word failure, but let's just go with it. So my first one, the biggest one, the one I'm super embarrassed to even go into, is missing deadlines. So I originally, before I launched, I kind of had the idea that I was going to launch an episode every 2 weeks. Then I spoke to a few people. I'm going to call out my other brother on the fact that he was just like, every 2 weeks is not good enough, because if I listen to your episode today, in 2 weeks time I've already forgotten who you are. There's just too much content out there. There's too many people doing what you're doing, and you need to create momentum, push yourself. If you're going to do something like this, just do it, and basically just, if you're not going to do it properly, don't bother. After that conversation with him, I was kind of like, you know what, he's right. I need to just put something out every week. So I consistently put something out every week, I think until episode 8. And then I missed a deadline. Yeah, once I had decided that I was going to put them out every week, I then set my day to Wednesday. I had done some reading on what the best days are to launch episodes, and it came up, I think, Wednesdays and Thursdays. So I went with Wednesdays. It worked for me, Wednesday mornings, and that was what I was doing consistently. And then I missed a deadline, and then 2 weeks later I missed another deadline. I just felt absolute shit, but at the same time it was my own fault. Like, I don't even have any excuse. There is no excuse. I didn't plan well enough. I do have a lot of things going on, so this is not, I don't podcast full time. I have many other things that I do, so that requires me planning my time effectively, which I didn't. I also didn't have enough people to network with. I think at the beginning there was that excitement and there was that momentum, and I was just messaging loads of people, and I kind of had this backlog of people, and I think in my mind it kind of made me relax a little bit. And then what ended up happening is, as I was recording, my network started to dry up and I wasn't making new connections. The other thing that didn't help is that I actually had to scrap some episodes because of audio quality. That was also a bit rubbish, because I hadn't actually expected to do that until I started editing those episodes. Obviously, it's a given that some of the episodes just aren't going to be good enough to put out, and it's going to be out of my control because I'm currently recording episodes over Zoom. I can't control what mic that person has, the environment they're in, what background noise there is, their Wi-Fi. There are just so many things that I can't control in the same way that I might be able to control them if I was recording them in person. And so I just had to scrap a few episodes, which also then set me back with my original plan. Yes, those are one of my biggest setbacks, is missing my deadlines. Another one of my setbacks, I'm not even going to call it a setback because I don't see it as that, because also this was one of my highlights, so it won't make sense to also put it as a setback. But Emma Dika's episode 1, I really stressed over it. And the reason it's also in this question is because I stressed so much about the audio. And even now, when I listen to that episode, I can hear this weird, like, in the background. I don't even know what it was. I don't know if it was something to do with my laptop, or I genuinely actually think that something corrupted my audio midway through editing, because my laptop was having issues at the time, and I think something happened to the audio. No one else picked it up. No one else gave me feedback. But to this day now, even though I'm super proud of that episode, that one little niggle is that bloody squeaking noise in the background that I'll just never be able to get rid of. I couldn't edit it out. I don't even know what it was. And yeah, That's one of the things that it's more of an annoyance than a setback. Okay, so another one of my, again, I don't know if this is a setback, but it's kind of a negative maybe, is I think I get shiny penny syndrome. It kind of sets me back with certain things. So for example, I have so many ideas with content and I want to do so many things, and then I overthink, and then I brainstorm this and brainstorm that. And what ends up happening is I get so excited about the shiny penny that I don't actually do what I'm supposed to do, which is message people and network and get something scheduled in the diary for the actual podcast episodes. So I think that's, maybe it's not a setback, but it's more a personality trait that I need to figure out and just stop it. And then two last things for this setback. This is also more of a what I need to learn from, or what I need to do, is I still don't have an outro. It's not necessarily a setback. I haven't really had anyone tell me, look, I'm not listening to your podcast anymore until you have an outro, because it's really unprofessional. But I don't have an outro, and I need to just get an outro, because you know, my videos normally end quite abruptly, or the audios end quite abruptly. It's kind of like, oh, okay, bye, and then that's it. There's no like, thanks for listening, subscribe, like, share, la la. I don't even have an excuse. There's no outro. I need to make an outro. If I don't have an outro by my next solo episode, DM me and just be like, get an outro, we're going to stop listening to your podcast, and then I'll do it. And then the second thing, which is like part B of this point, is my brother has given me instructions on how to record the environment around me, because obviously, as you can see, I record in my living room, and this isn't set up to record, so it's not a studio, there's no sound barriers or anything like that. So I've been given specific instructions that he has sent me, which is to record my environment with the door closed, everything closed, no one in here, so that he can pick up certain sounds. And then I think with that information, he can then help me to create a template that I can use to help me with editing. So that needs to also go on my list, because if it's going to help me with editing, I need to just get off my backside and just do it. So question 3. This is based on the fact that a lot of people have been messaging me, mostly on Instagram, asking me technical questions. So the question is, what equipment and or software are you using? So my mic, which you can see here, is a Blue Yeti mic, which I bought from Amazon. The one I bought was actually secondhand as new. I bought it for £109, I think, and I think they retail at like 160 or 170. If I'm wrong and I've been ripped off, then oh well. So yeah, that's what I bought. It's pretty much as new. The only thing is that it has 2 little marks where like the black has come off and you can see the metal underneath, but I mean, it works perfectly fine, and ta-da, here it is. But I wasn't using that at the beginning. I was using my laptop with Zoom, which is just my laptop mic from I think episodes 1 to 3 or 4. I was just using my laptop mic. So if you are thinking of starting your own podcast, don't even let the mic stop you. Just do what you need to do. You can edit it, it's all good. If you can't afford to buy a mic, then don't let that be the reason you don't do the podcast. For audio editing, I use Adobe Audition, which I had never used in my life. I'm still not 100% using it. I still have no idea how to use it. Like I said, I'm just using my video tutorial. However, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube on how to use Adobe Audition, how to record a podcast, how to edit a podcast. Like, YouTube is the one. Adobe Audition is quite widely used, so there's a lot of content on YouTube to help you. I use Adobe Premiere Pro for video editing, mainly because I've used it before. I'm maybe like 10% comfortable with it. I get it, I understand it, but I'm sure there are thousands of different things that I don't know about it. But yeah, I'm just learning as I go. And in terms of this mic, all it needs is I bought some earphones that just plug into the bottom so that you can hear the person and also your own audio. And they cost me like £15. And two things that I need to buy is I need to buy some neutral headphones for editing, because one thing that I've found is sometimes when I edit using my laptop speaker, it doesn't sound like someone who will be listening to it on their phone. So it doesn't sound like what they hear. And I think those headphones are the way to get as much likeness as other people listening to it. Because what happened is I edited one of my episodes and to me it sounded fine. Then I sent it to my family and it was really, really loud for them, like painfully loud. And I think it was because I edited without earphones or headphones. So now I'm just using the cheapy earphones that I use for this to edit, but I'm going to get some proper headphones to edit. I think they're quite expensive, like over £100, so I'm just waiting a little bit on that one. The platform that I use to upload my podcast is Libsyn. You get charged, well, there's different packages, so I pay $15 for a certain amount of space every month, so it refreshes every month, and Libsyn then pushes it out to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and then I upload myself to YouTube just because I like the control of doing it myself, but it can actually push out to YouTube as well. Pretty easy to use, pretty self-explanatory, and there's loads of links with instructions for whenever you get stuck, so I would highly recommend Libsyn as a hosting platform. Okay, so question 4 is, what are your biggest lessons? This is a big one. Okay, so question 4, what are your biggest lessons? I think I've learnt both from interviewing people and from the actual content, as well as lessons from doing the podcast itself. So I'm going to touch on both of those. So just to start off with what I've learned from my interviewees and from my content, the 3 key points are meditate, journal, reflect. Those are just 3 things that kept coming up with every single guest. They would mention one of those 3 things as part of their regular routines, which I actually found really interesting when looking back, because I started meditating every day maybe only like 2 months ago, and I still have to remind myself, and I have an alarm that goes off every evening that says, have you meditated today? So that isn't something that I've always done. It's not something that comes naturally to me. It's something I have to push myself to do still, but it's something that I've been aware of for the last few months that I'm making a conscious effort to do. But the journaling and the reflecting are the ones that I still have not become a daily habit. And I think it's just clear that they're super important in terms of just general success, productivity, organization, mental stability. And I do have to mention Emma Dika as well. She has her own journal which you can buy online, and she has given me a copy, so I have started journaling every day, but again, it's on and off. I'm not always on point with it. I do sometimes miss days, and she sometimes misses days, probably not many though. So yeah, I think those are the 3 key learnings that I've learned from my guests. In terms of key learnings from actually doing the podcasting thing, I would say one of the things is just keep planning. Plan out your weeks, plan out your content. Whenever I don't plan, whenever I don't schedule, that's when I get behind, I miss deadlines, etc, etc. So plan ahead, plan. And then the next one is network. It's only the last 2 weeks that I've actually had people message me on Instagram, mostly saying, hey, I've listened to your podcast, I really like your content, I really want to be involved, you want to collab. But that didn't happen from the beginning. It's only just starting to happen now, which is actually really exciting. But even with that, I still need to be networking all the time, because I need to make sure that, you know, people that are coming on the podcast relate to my audience. They're someone that I think would be good for my audience. So not everyone that contacts me, I'm going to be like, yeah, like collab with me. My next lesson is be brave. I had a few people on my list originally. So for example, Penny Jarrett was on my list of people that I really wanted to come on from day one, but I didn't contact her for weeks because I was just really nervous. I thought, she's got a much bigger following than me. Why would she want to come on the podcast? But then in the end, when I did ask her, she was actually quite surprised that I was nervous about asking her. So be brave. If there's someone that you want to appear on your podcast, or not even a podcast, but if there's someone you really want to work with, just ask them, look, I really respect you. I really admire you. You inspire me because XYZ. I'd really love to collab with you. What do you think? The worst they can say is no. Another lesson is stop striving for perfection. My content is not going to be perfect. If I had that attitude from day one, I would never have launched. Like I said, there were many flaws with my episode with Emma, but I just said to myself, look, this is what you're doing. This is the content you're putting out there. Just commit yourself to be consistent with your content. Yes, I've missed deadlines. I know that's been my error, but I'm still doing what I'm doing. I still want to be podcasting. I still want to be recording episodes. I have to just keep moving forward. Like, my content's not going to be perfect. I'm new at editing. I'm new at interviewing. I'm new at making connections with people and collabing with people and working with brands and working with whoever. So I have to just put that into perspective, because people know that I'm new. People know that this is only episode 12. I don't think people are expecting perfection, to be honest. I think they just want to see what I'm doing. They just want to be part of my journey. And it's okay that your content isn't going to be perfect at the beginning. Maybe by the time I reach episode 100, I might be a bit closer to that, but still probably not perfect. So main focus is just keep putting content out, and just know that there's always going to be something that you're going to think, oh, I could have done this, or next time I'll do that. But that's part of the process of learning. So just keep moving forward. And that pretty much just comes on to my next point, which is be open to learning. Be open to the fact that you're not going to know what you're doing half the time, but, you know, just jump on YouTube, how to edit a podcast, or jump on YouTube, how do I add a flash transition into my intro, whatever. Because there's so many resources out there to help you. So just be open to learning and just keep going, and don't be afraid of the fact that it might take you longer than obviously someone who's a professional. But take note, make use of resources that you have around you, and just be open to learning. And lastly is document things. So this is also partly why I'm doing this solo episode, and why I want to continue doing the solo episodes. Is this is part of my documenting. This is part of me documenting my journey, documenting what I'm doing, and also making myself accountable, both to myself and to you guys, for everything that I'm doing now. Because when I am at episode 100, someone might jump on my podcast at episode 99 or episode 100 and think, wow, like, this episode's like really good, it's edited really well, the audio is really good. And for whatever reasons, they might think my podcast is great, because obviously it is great. But they won't necessarily have been watching or listening since episode 1, so they don't know what kind of crap I was putting out there on episode 1. They don't know where I started. They don't know that I was absolute shit at the beginning, and they haven't seen that journey. So I might actually be able to inspire someone in the future who might think, oh, well, actually, let me go back a bit and see where she was at the beginning. And also for me, like, it's great for me to track where I'm going, track my journey, track what I've learned, because sometimes it's really easy to be hard on yourself. And, you know, especially someone like me who is constantly like, oh, you should have done that, or the audio's rubbish, or there's a hissing sound, I can't get rid of it, blah, blah, blah. I'm constantly focusing on those negatives. But when you document your journey, not just with the videos, but also through my journaling, it kind of makes you realize the progress that you make slowly. So documenting is one of the things that my biggest lessons, and one of the things that I want to be doing more of. So this is part of that, and I'm making myself accountable to you guys, so thank you for that. And lastly, question 5 is, what do I hope to achieve by my next solo episode? So my next solo episode will probably be episode maybe 15 or 20. I don't know, it depends on the feedback and how I feel, and I don't know, lots of things, but I want to set myself some targets so that by the next solo episode I can say, did I hit those targets? Did I do what I said I was going to do? And at episode 12, don't know, we'll see. So obviously I want to keep the one-to-one episodes going. That's the main point of the podcast, is a different guest every week. And I've decided that when I reach to episode 25, I'm going to reward myself with something. Haven't decided what yet, but I think it's important to just reward your efforts. So probably something little, I don't know what yet, but watch this space. Maybe by my next episode, solo episode, I will have decided what it is exactly. Also, by my next solo episode, I want to have recorded at least one in-person episode. I think I found a venue that I came across a few weeks ago while filming some other content for my intro. So fingers crossed that I'll have a really cool venue to film at, and I'll be able to film at least one in-person episode. Providing that obviously everything with COVID allows that to happen, because obviously we've had some changes recently. So provided the rules don't change and I'm allowed to, that's one of my targets for my next, that I will be speaking to you about by the next solo episode. Another thing that I wanted to do, which was one of my ideas, is that I wanted to start doing some panel episodes, which means instead of just having the one-to-one with me and a guest, I wanted to have an episode that was me with 2 or 3 other people. The only thing stopping me is the audio aspect. I don't want to lose quality with audio, and doing a panel episode over Zoom, I'm still not 100% sure how I can make that happen without the audio just suffering and being really rubbish. So the idea behind those panel episodes is that we will all get together and we'll either pick some trending topics to discuss, or maybe we'll take some questions from viewers / listeners, or we'll just take like some problems from like websites, kind of like agony aunt websites, and discuss them. I kind of think it might be a good idea to also have one male guest, just to mix it up a bit. I've seen a lot of all female and all male podcasts, so I think it might be nice to kind of get a mix in there. But again, really conscious of my audience, so I'm not 100% sure if that will be the case, and it will just be all girls, all women. So again, still penciled in, brainstormed idea, but I want to at least do one of those. Maybe not by the next solo episode, but definitely by the one after that. So I'm kind of cheating here with that one a bit. And the last thing I think I want to achieve by the next one is I want to have collabed with a brand. I really want to start collabing with brands. It's like one of the most it kind of gets me excited to be able to collab with brands. So I'm hoping that by the next solo episode I will have at least collabed with one brand. I did meet with someone yesterday to collect some teas, which is the obvious collab idea, is with a tea brand. But I'm going to talk to him tomorrow in terms of the ins and outs of that and how it works. I've obviously never collabed with a brand before, so we'll see how that goes. Again, watch this space, and hopefully that will have happened by the next solo episode. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for this solo episode, my first ever solo episode, but first of many, hopefully. Please give me your feedback. I don't know how you feel about these episodes. I don't know how you're going to feel about these episodes, if you prefer the guests, if you enjoy seeing part of my journey and, you know, like that to mix it up. If you found it interesting, boring, informative, or whatever you felt about it, I'd really appreciate it if you could comment or DM me. I'm mostly active on Instagram, but obviously if you're watching on YouTube, please comment below. If you aren't already following me on Instagram, then just head over to Instagram, follow me and DM me, and then we would have catered to all my platforms. So yeah, if you are enjoying seeing my journey, if you've learned anything, if you found it really useful, please let me know. I'd really like to also ask if you have any suggestions for my next solo episode, any questions, topic suggestions, then just also let me know, because I'll implement those for the next solo episode. And as always, guys, I truly appreciate you if you've listened from start to finish. If you're listening regularly, I'm really thankful for everyone who is keeping in touch with me and following me and listening and watching and commenting. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon.